Minister, could you just tell us what actual changes are going to be made to the co-op legislation?
Well, we've just completed an extensive period of consultation with the public and, of course, with the stakeholders, the cooperatives themselves. And we should be going to Parliament in the next 6 to 9 months, revision to the Cooperatives Act. Without getting into details at this stage, let me just sketch out our overall thoughts. I believe there's a need for the regulator to be less prescriptive. Because, as the economy evolves, the co-ops also have to evolve. They will get into new businesses. They'll have to evolve new ways of attracting business and conducting their affairs. So we need to be less prescriptive and give them more flexibility. But having said that, if we're going to give them more flexibility, we then also have to make sure that the system doesn't lead to co-ops going, falling aside or getting distracted or getting into problems. So the antidote to that, we believe, is greater transparency. So they will, whilst they're freer to do more things, they will have to disclose more things so that their members and their stakeholders are aware of what the leadership is doing and why they're doing what they're doing. We will also look at a risk-based approach. That means not all cooperatives or not all activities are high-risk ones. And the regulator will focus on those which are deemed to be high risk either by virtue of the size of the funds involved or the nature of the business involved, or if there are questions about competence or ability of the management to perform those specific tasks. So overall, it's a change in approach, giving more flexibility, promoting greater transparency, and taking a risk-based approach to regulation. Those are the key philosophical underpinnings behind our changes to the co-ops. Because we've done wide consultation, I'm also reasonably confident that the changes which are going to be proposed will be practical and will be accepted by the cooperative sector. Yes.
Sorry, Minister. I just wanted to ask, how far will the changes allow co-ops to act like any other limited company in the market?
Well, co-ops will have, first and foremost, be viable businesses. So to the maximum extent, we want them to have the flexibility to behave like private limited companies. But the key difference, obviously, in co-op is that the stakeholders are ordinary people, right? Either their main customers or their main stakeholders. So that's why I think transparency becomes an even greater issue. These are not sophisticated shareholders or institutional investors. They're shareholders, they're owners of cooperatives, are ordinary Singaporeans, literally the man in the street. So we need to make sure that there's even higher levels of transparency and people know what's going on and have confidence that there's no hanky-panky and there's no major mistakes being made. Now, of course, from time to time, there will be problems and there will be mistakes. But if you have a system in which there's higher transparency and we seek to minimize risk, I think we can help co-ops to evolve and keep up with the times.
Mr. Minister, when you said flexibility in raising funds, flexibility in what exactly?
Well, in the types of businesses they get into, in fundraising, in the whole business matters, I think what I'm saying is that it's not possible for the regulator to be overly prescriptive and say thou shalt do this or thou shalt not do this. I think our approach should be, you do what you think is necessary, but be open about it, let your stakeholders know, and do it in simple layman's terms, so people know that what you're doing is being done with the best of intentions, is being done honestly. Yes, from time to time, mistakes will happen, but if those mistakes happen, you want to keep those mistakes small, and you want to detect the mistakes early, so that the damage, if any, is minimized.
When was the last time you had such a review?
Well, it's been quite some time. I don't remember when the last review was. But we've been engaged in this review for the last 2 years, so it's taken some time for us to get to this stage. But I'm confident that these changes will be welcomed by both the management as well as the stakeholders of all the cooperatives.
Minister, since it's
Yes.
already a code of governance in place,
Yes.
how different will this new framework be from the code of governance?
No, it will be consistent, compatible think there has to be, in any legislative framework, there's got to be some penalties. But I don't want to give you details on that yet.
In terms of
Yes.
profits, Minister, could you
Yes.
just tell us how you use the profits over and above how they're being used at the moment?
Well, that's a question you have to pose to the cooperative movement themselves. But clearly, because cooperatives are not private limited companies, I would use the term surplus rather than profits. The surpluses would either have to be returned to their stakeholders, or to further the social cause for which a cooperative has been established, or to build up a reserve for a rainy day. But whatever you do, make sure everyone knows where the money is, how it is being spent, how it is being kept, and to make sure you remain true to your cause. And as I said earlier in my speech, it's the onus of maintaining trust and confidence is even higher in a cooperative because of the nature of the entity that it is. The shareholders are ordinary people, and ordinary people and the man in the street depends on the services and the goods that you're selling. They expect to be treated fairly, and in the cooperatives in Singapore the last few decades have played a very big role in ensuring that we can all buy rice and sugar and all our groceries cheaply and yet at a very high quality. And these are attributes that we want to preserve. And you can say the same for building executive condos or insurance products. There's a very wide range of goods and services in Singapore which have been provided by the cooperatives. And I just want to make sure we don't take these for granted and we protect what we have.
Minister, how do you
Yes.
think the new flexible legislation that will be introduced will benefit co-ops number one and average Singapore number two?
Well, we benefit co-ops because they have told us they need to have more flexibility to compete and keep up with private sector companies. And we've said, yes, we're prepared to allow you that flexibility, but in exchange for that, we have higher standards of disclosure. So I think it will provide the management of co-ops greater flexibility to do what needs to be done. For the man in the street, if our co-ops in Singapore continue to provide high level, good quality goods and services at fair prices, it sets a benchmark. So even the private limited companies, whether they be in retail, groceries or insurance or any other fields, will also have to compete with the co-ops. And I believe competition is good. It will also provide more choice for the man in the street. So I'm not saying you have to buy everything that you need from a co-op, but I'm saying that it benefits all of us to have a strong, viable and vibrant cooperative sector. It has played a major role in the past 4 decades, and I hope it will continue to do so in the years ahead.
Well,
Thank you.